Welcome back to Islam Podcast, week number 4. It's I, your host, Arif Khan. And as always, joining us today is none other than our good friend, Mr. Maju, as well as the commissioner himself, Bibi. Gentlemen, how goes it?
Dealing with some battle wounds and still trying to heal up before tomorrow.
Habibi, what about you? You just need some shisha and you're good to go, right?
Double apple day keeps the doctor away.
Double up on that. It's all good. So you know what? These days I play on Fridays and then I don't think about it till next Thursday. So quite often I forget what what happened the week before. Maybe we should do these earlier in the week, huh? Like on Monday or something when it's still fresh in our minds. What do you think?
I think that sounds like a better idea.
Something to ponder.
Yeah.
Yeah, like while it's still
But it kind of builds up the hype for tomorrow too, right?
true.
That's true.
It does, and also I guess if when the season gets closer to the end, you have all those trades and whatnot. So yeah, I think that was the reason why we did it later in the week, is because we want to capture any
Yeah.
kind of transactions that happen on a Tuesday or Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, well then, without any further ado, let's get started here. Let's take a quick peek on the chat, see who's there. Oh, look, it's only Zaid Maju in there.
Hamza Bhagat is there too, so don't get it twisted. He's there
Hamza,
too.
walaikum salam, brother. Good to have you there. Where's our usual? You know what? I miss
They'll
Imran.
trickle in.
I miss Imran. He was always here, man. He was always the first guy I give salams, and that's it. Because he's not playing, he doesn't show up. I'm gonna have to have a talk with him on Sunday.
He's a busy man now, man.
No excuse.
We need to get him back. All right, boys. Let's jump right into it. Week 4 coverage. So first game of the night was Iman and Taqwa. Iman coming off of a really big win the week before, but here, man, they got beat up a little bit here by Taqwa, who saw Mohammed Shabir Patel with 5 points, I think.
Correct.
Yeah. I'm on that Mohammed Patel bandwagon. That guy just took over the whole game.
Yeah.
But like I played in this game and quite frankly, like the first 4 or 5 minutes, I think it was pretty even.
Mm-hmm.
I think both teams pretty held their own. I just think that the moment the 5-minute mark or the 6-minute mark just kind of kept in. I think the goals just kept on pouring in. At that point, we just kind of lost our momentum from there. But I mean, it was really a night of blowouts from all accounts. I mean, and I know there was a lot of blowouts in other games as well.
Mm-hmm.
But for the first couple of minutes, I we did play pretty good.
Yeah.
It's just again, the power on Tuckwa in terms of the power and of their offense and the chemistry that they have on that team. They just really took it over right after they scored, I think, the first 3 goals, and then there was just pretty much there was nothing, there was really no answer for that after.
Yeah.
So you can break it down to Mo Shabir Patel, doing his thing, and rightfully so, he did, right? But even on the first goal, which happened close to the 11-minute mark, so 4 minutes into the game, but definitely Habibi, it was very even from the get-go. It was really well played out. Unfortunately, you guys were missing a starting goalie, but nothing on Yusuf Mohammed, who subbed in again for you guys. He played a great game, but with the firepower that Taqwa has, you could see, and rightfully any team would do this, but even on the first goal where Huzi kind of had the ball on like the far boards, just around the circle, you could see people just leaning towards him a little bit more. And what does he do? He finds Mohammed Shabir, who finds Rayan Mahmoud, who, again, I called it out after scoring the 2 goals against Rida the week before. You got to watch out for Rayan Mahmoud. He was the second star, scored 2 goals yet again. And sure, all eyes on Mohammed Shabir Patel, but don't sleep on Rayan Mahmoud. And once that started going in, the first one went in, then it just was a nonstop. We were looking at like a minute 50 for the second goal, then another 3 minutes later, or 3.5 minutes later, then a minute later. So it just was nonstop. And when a team like that gets on a roll, you have to find a way to disrupt it. Now, it also didn't help the fact that you guys took 4 penalties. Was it? Oh no, sorry. You guys only took one penalty, but you couldn't capitalize on
Yeah,
it.
it wasn't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you guys couldn't capitalize on the power plays, but um, it just goes to show that
yeah.
Taqwa is rolling with all cylinders, and they're hard to beat. They're a fast team. They're a skilled team, and they've played together a lot, like you were saying.
Yeah, they're the real deal. I mean, they're a team that definitely has, refined chemistry from within. They're guys that have played with each other for a while, and we kind of knew that too. We got guys that have played with each other too, but it's the tale of the story. Like once they scored their first, their second, it was just nonstop. And you're right, Maji. We just really couldn't find an answer in terms of anything. And you're right. We were on a couple of power plays. Our power play wasn't really jiving, and it could have been. I can't say it could have been worse. I don't think it can get any worse than it was. But we just never really found an answer in terms of
Yeah,
like shutting them down.
and
But they're the real deal. There's no question
yeah, for
about it.
sure. And once you get scored a couple of them or a few of them in a bunch, it hits you hard, man. You don't recover. I mean, we're going to be talking about it in the next slide with Rida. Same thing happened to us. But yeah, and it's really hard to come out of that, especially when you've been playing pretty on equal footing. It's like a body shot, right? Like it takes the wind out of you.
Yeah, and you're right, Arif. It's just once a team like that gets going, when you're on the opposing side of that, it really is hard to get that momentum going, even if it's just one goal at a time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But when the goals start, just mounting on, and you're right, Maj. To your point in terms of the penalties, our power play wasn't really clicking. There was really no answer. And RF, to your point in terms of like the win that we came off from the week before, um, and then it showed like the first 4 minutes we were on that high. But again, with just the energy that Takwa has, we just never really found an answer for them.
Yep, yep.
Now we are week. We're going into week 5, right?
Mm.
I think now is the time we start bring up the topic. We talked about it for the last 4 weeks, but is now the time to make a deal, right? Iman is looking in right now. They have 2 points from one win. Haya is just above them because of a goal differential. Now, will Iman have to make a move? Ichlas is looking very much on the outside, and we'll talk more about them later. But do you think Iman needs to make a move to now solidify their team, find a
So
missing piece?
I would say maybe we hold off on that when we get to next or the upcoming week's games, and let's talk about it there because I think that
We are facing them.
yeah, that'll be interesting. So let's do a quick recap, but hold that thought, Manju. We're going to come back to that because
Sounds good. Yep.
that's a great question. So game number 2 was Hayab versus Rida, and Hayab has been taking a beating, and they were missing Lukman, and a lot of people had them, marked out. But from the score, that's clearly not the case. 6-2 thrashing of Rida, where Hamza Ali got a hat trick, and Sufyan was just absolutely dominant on the face-off dot. I don't think we got more than maybe a 50-50 draw. Everything else, he just pretty much won.
Yeah, I honestly I don't even know what to say. Last Friday was a night of spankings, and I was on the receiving end, myself and
We
and Arif, who were on the same team. We were on the receiving end of a shellacking, of a spanking, whatever you want to call it. We got it handed to us, and honestly, they were ready. And some people did say that Luke made some duas from Umrah, so right in the right place, the right time. So is it the fact they were missing Luke that they clicked, or was it the duas that made them click? But regardless, we didn't come to play. We were like 3 steps behind them. I think they had about 4 breakaways, and about 3 or so partial breakaways. And I did the best I could to try to make some of those saves. Some of those bounces just went their way, second, third opportunities. So I think honestly, just hands down, Hayat took it to Rida. No ifs, ands, or buts. Hamza was ready there to play. He scored, I think, the first 3 goals. So he was just on fire. And I was counting him out. I was saying even the week before he was not really there. He was kind of hidden. But he just made me shut up, right?
Earlier, right, Habibi, is that scoring in bunches. So Hamza got three, the first three, I think, within a span of 5 minutes in the first period, right? And
So 9 to 6. So
yeah,
from 9:11 to 6:23. So in a matter of about 3 minutes,
three to
three
four,
goals.
and we were like, "What?"
Yeah, it's hard to come back. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean it's to your point. You're right. It's hard to come back, like in terms of like finding that momentum
Yeah,
when you get
yeah.
scored in bunches like that, right? So
I can't remember, Maju. Was it like 5-1 or 5-0 or 4-0? I think we won the second period. I don't even remember, but it was way too late for anything really.
Yeah, it was one goal apiece in the second period. We did get it closer to like 5-1
Hmm.
at a point, but yeah, at that point it's just the game's running away from us. We played a better second half, but penalties killed us. I'm looking at this and I know I'm going to get it wrong because there was an ejection and all that, but we
Yeah,
had about 4 to 5 penalties, and you're not going to win games playing off of your heels and hope to rally in the second.
including an ejection
Yeah,
to I believe Akbar. No, it was to Ishmael, I think, right?
correct. I think yeah,
Yeah,
Ismail Manja.
Ishmael, because and you know what? I don't blame him. I know a lot of people were like, "Oh, the reffing was bad or this or that," but like Habib and I were talking about it at the rink. If you have to cite poor reffing, you've already lost the plot, right?
Yeah,
Because it's going to happen. You're
yeah, I mean he's it's a neutral player. I mean he's unbiased. He
yeah,
doesn't really care who really wins in the game.
yeah,
It's the same ref from both teams. And you're right. The moment you start using that as an excuse, you've already lost.
yeah. Now, to be fair though, to Ishmael, he did get hit pretty hard in the face, and he was livid. He went to the bench, and I think, yeah, he was still yapping, so he was sent to the sin bin, and then he still kept yapping, and then the ref just had enough and said, "Okay, you're out." And that was a big loss for us because he's one of our energy guys,
Yeah.
secondary scoring, and missing him was tough. Plus, we were missing Ajmal, we were missing Omar. So yeah, it's again not making excuses, but Hayat definitely played well, but we didn't make it very tough for them either.
yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, and having a guy like Hamza Ali there too doesn't.
Yeah. One highlight we had for Rida, though, I gotta say, is Ali Wadi. He laid out an immaculate reverse hit on some poor guy in the corner. Basically, Ali had the ball in the corner and somebody was coming to take it. And Ali just did a reverse hit. He was about to get hit. He just laid it on. The guy was knocked down. I forget who the brother was, but there was a lot of oohs and ahs from the
We
crowd.
should not be condoning this kind of behavior. It was just his know-how and how long Ali has played in the game to know how to take a hit or take
Yeah.
a
Well,
take that pressure.
Or give a hit.
he took it and he returned the favor, right? So,
But guys, remember just when we're talking about the refs and all that,
yeah.
the refs are responsible for 12 players, right? They're trying to watch everything. They're gonna miss something. They're humans, right?
This was
They
with the ball on the play, so every eye
Yeah.
was on that play.
But okay, so here's the thing: the near ref looks at the ball, the back ref looks at the other players. They're not both looking at the ball, and you're not just looking at the ball. You're also trying to see if there's a high stick, if there's other things that are happening.
Yeah,
So it's a multitude of things that if he misses it, he misses it. We just have to play on and move on. And it's unfortunate that people do get injured. So, guys, one thing that I think a lot of people even talked about is do yourself a favor, get a visor, get something to protect yourself.
Yeah.
yeah. And again, this was not an illegal hit by any means.
Nope.
It was it's a rare play, and it's not always easy to do. But when it's done in a masterful way, as Ali Wadi did, that's a tip of a hat there, right there.
Nice to watch is what you're saying.
Not nice to be on the receiving end for sure. So, anywho's, so the next game after that was Yakin versus Sabr, and this ended in a 2-2 tie. Abdullah Patel. So Abdullah Patel before the game was like, "Hey, how come you don't shout me out on the podcast anymore?" I said, "Well, do something worthy of being shouted out." And
he did. He scored both goals.
so Abdullah, shout out to you, buddy. Attaboy. Good job.
and this is Abdullah Shadow Patel. Let's just clear that up. There's Abdullah K Patel. There's Abdullah so many Patels, and I think we have 3 Abdullah Patels this season. This is Abdullah Shadow GM Patel.
I think it was the haircut,
That's
maybe.
nice.
Where's my DJ horn? Yeah, that's the one.
There
That's
you
the
go.
one. All right, so Maji, what do you see in this game?
It was again another tight game against two top competitors, right? We had Yakin, who I believe just had one tie to their name, and they were undefeated, and Sabr, who was coming in completely undefeated, so no ties, no nothing, just unbeaten. And they really went at each other. It was really fun to watch. And I gotta say that so Yakin started the scoring, just putting one through Riaz. Again, I don't even know how it went through, but it was like a squeaker that kind of floated in weird enough. But I gotta say, one shout out to Rehan Kazi. He probably is the better Kazi that's in the league. Not a brother to Muhammad Kazi, but I believe it's a cousin to Muhammad Kazi. But I gotta say, he was Johnny on. I mean, sorry, Gujarati on the spot to receive a spot, receive the pass from Omar Hussein to just pocket it.
Good you in
Probably
the
one of
gap.
the. Sorry.
Good you in the gap.
Good you in the gap. Gujarati on the spot. There you go. Make it happen, Captain. He was right in the right place, and you just have to be with Omar Hussein. He will find you. Well, when he's not deking through the team, he will find you to just make it an easy squeaker, right? So, and then of course Omar Hussein continues his hot streak and scores one just before the end of the game, or sorry, end of the period.
And it was such
But
an effortless goal too, right? They
oh
just
my
they just
god,
standing there, just little flick and back of the net, just
and
so smooth.
and so humble too. This guy's just like, oh, you try to talk to him after the game. How's it going? Oh, how would you do? It's like, oh no, I just try. It's no, don't worry about me. I didn't do anything. It was all Kazi. Kazi did all of it. It's like, dude, take some, take enjoy it. But
Classy guy, man, classy guy.
yeah, but really, it was just a really tight game, and both took some penalties, 3-2 penalties. Shots were pretty even, 14-18. But I think these two teams are really they're the undefeated beasts. Well, two of the three undefeated beasts on the top, right? So, and we'll talk about the next beast in our next recap. But
Yeah,
I think these
Yeah,
teams
it
are
was a
going a
fun.
long way.
Yeah, and the score reflects that, right? I mean, we're talking about the other scores in terms of the games. They were,
blow up.
quote unquote blowouts and
Yeah.
stuff like that, right? But this game, I mean, the score tells the game. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, I watched, obviously this game as well, and you're right. I mean, it was pretty well evenly matched. It was a very fun game to watch, and the resurgence of Abdullah Patel. We know he could score. Do you know what I mean? It's not like he's not a person that cannot score. So it's good to see him back on the score sheet in terms of like not seeing the usual suspects
Mhm.
of Yakin doing that. So he's not expected to be that top guy, and I think he's fitting into his role in terms of like where he is. And I think it shows like that last game, like in terms of him being able to um, be that secondary scoring on a team that already has a good
Really
offensive
good. Yeah,
powers.
yeah, absolutely.
And then it's important to note that yes, Sabr really has a lot riding on Omar Hussein, but Yakin has a lot of different scorers in the last few games. We've seen highlights
Oh
from
yeah,
Maz, from who was the other person, our Donlands native. I can't even remember his name right now. Of course, I'm under the gun. That's why.
Alta,
Um, sorry,
Alta or
no,
Wakaya?
no, Mohammed Kasuji.
Right. Yeah.
And then now Abdullah Patel. So they're just, whenever it's time to score, someone else steps up. Someone else steps up. So it's definitely going to be another task to beat them because you don't know who's going to be scoring that.
well, it's funny that you mentioned that because that point that you just mentioned right there, Maju, is the story of this game because the 5 goals that were scored by Asan
Yeah.
weren't by the usual suspects.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about this one. So 5-1,
Yeah.
Asan versus Ichlas, another semi blowout, or I guess we can call it a blowout. Anytime it's a 4-goal differential, let's just call it a blowout. But yeah, so what are you saying, Habibi? That different people scored, not the usual suspects?
Yeah, in this game, I mean, usually when you look at this game, it's the usual suspects that would score.
Yeah.
It would either be like, I know Dawood had one, but the other 4 goals were scored not by the usual suspects of that team, where you would expect Hamoudi to step in or Casantini to step in
Mhm.
or any of those guys, or even and they were scored, I think, by guys not typically scored. I think like I don't even think for not even for Khan, none of the GMs
Who
were
scored in
scoring.
this
I think
game?
it's more or less by secondary defensemen, which is exactly a recipe for a good team. It's not
Absolutely.
they're not relying on that top scoring line in terms of the GMs. It's really, and I think the secondary scoring was really key in this game for them.
So we had two by Ishak Bayat, one by Wasim
Yeah.
Kagzi, one by Naeem Malik,
Hmm.
and of course our
So
deep
defenseman.
and
I mean,
then
we keep talking.
sorry,
Yeah.
and
So this game,
Dawood also pocketed one, but Naeem was playing center this game, but again, just a big body in the front that makes things happen.
yeah. I mean, and just to go back, we keep talking about Asan and how defensively sound they are. All those guys that you mentioned are defensemen on that team,
Yeah.
with the exception of Dawood. So not only can they protect the goal, and I think they had a new goaltender. I think it was Muhammad, I think his son that played that game.
Yes. So it was Mohammed Mughal's son, and
Yeah,
his name is Shayan. Sorry, I mean I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. It's Shayan Mughal. So his first game in Iceland, making his debut. I believe he's 17 years old,
Nice.
but
yeah,
really up to the task on a couple of the superstars of green.
Yeah, I met
yeah.
him
And I think
briefly.
the first goal that they let in was a shaky goal, but once that goal came in, he kind of stood his ground. I kind of just never did anything after that.
Yeah, I briefly met him after the game. Very, mashallah, very polite young man. So it's great to have him. All the young guys in the league. But yeah, with Asan, we've been saying it all season, right? They just have a really good defense core, but to your point, Habibi, that defense core also seems to be able to score quite a bit. So when their forwards start scoring more, that's going to be a very difficult team to handle if they're not already.
Yeah, and
Right?
it's good to see a shot get 2 goals on that team because he's not usually a player that gets a lot of recognition. So
Yeah,
it's good to see guys like that step up and not um, the usual
yeah,
suspects that we
yeah.
usually mention. So
And
kudos to
isn't
him
he
as well.
still playing under his dad's shadow? Like, is his who's his dad? I don't know. I can't remember his first name, but of course I just call him Bayat. But
Well, you two are the grumpy old men that keep talking about who's. I mean, you should know that by now.
Isn't it Sajid Bayat? Isn't it?
Sajid, yes, Sajid's, yeah.
I don't think it's his dad. I think it's his uncle or
No,
something.
I don't think it's his dad.
Oh, okay. Well, we just got to go to the rink and say Taro Bap Korche. Just who's your dad, and then we'll figure it out. Don't worry.
So Maju, we have to talk about Ichlas here, right? Because these
Yeah.
guys, they've been they've been pounded, and I think after the game, a lot of their, I'm not going to name names, but I think you and I both know there's a lot of players who are absolutely frustrated with the team, to the point that they want to either be traded or they want out basically. Who's going to come in if they get traded or they want to be out?
Yeah, it's who are you going to get for them? Now, that being said, everyone, you have to remember that you have to be respectful when you're asking for a trade or asking for leave, because if
Yeah,
you're just demanding something, you can be dropped and not come back into the league. Like
yeah,
you can't make demands. But that being said, people are frustrated, right? They haven't been clicking. Pieces have been missing consistently. I don't know what the GM or the chatter on their group is. If
hmm
people are talking, they're conversing, figuring out a game plan or whatnot. But to be honest, it looks like a team that just shows up and just tries to play. And in the fall season and especially in the winter, if you just show up and figure out on the fly to play, you've already lost the game, because teams like Dawood, Haya, Ihsan, Sabr, like these teams are thinking about the game. They're planning for the game before they're even coming in. They're not just saying, "Ah, don't worry, we'll figure it out when we show up."
And
Um,
I think one of the things about teams, and Habib, I'll get you to chime in on this, is that
Yeah.
other teams they plan and whatnot, but sometimes, and I'm not saying this is necessarily the case with Ikhlas, but some of these teams they just keep playing their same brand of hockey, regardless
mhm.
of what the outcome is or regardless what's happening. Right? Is it one? Can you not adapt, or do you just have no other style of game to adapt to? Habib, what's your thoughts on that comment?
Well, I think with draft hockey, like especially like when we have a system where we know who your top line is, you know what I mean. But in the draft system, you also got two other lines that you have to
Mhm.
kind of draft well as well. And we've talked about this all time, and we always know that you really win at the draft, especially
Yeah,
when you get those mid rounds and those third rounds. So I mean, it really does become a factor where you got to really depend and rely on your other line mates and just have that confidence. Because if it's not working, then you got to make a change. So
Hmm.
maybe it's just a tale of, guys just, we're familiar with with our top five. We'll just kind of roll them. We'll just kind of sub in or fill in, the other two lines when they can. But you also have to understand that the other two lines, if you match them well with other two lines and other teams and really have confidence in those lines, it can cause havoc and
Yeah,
it can
yeah,
cause damage. So it's just the whole thing about a draft team. You're not picking your own team and putting it into a league. It's you're picking different guys at different skill sets, and you got to really have confidence in those different skill sets and use them.
yeah.
So it's
Absolutely.
just one of those things where just have confidence in your other lines. You know what I mean? And just Majid, to your point, if you got a plan, stick to it. You know what I mean? It's just if
Mhm.
it's not working with your top line, mix it up a little bit.
Must be.
Spread out your lines. Mix it up. Have two guys on the top line. Maybe have a top guy on a second line or a third line. I don't know. Just kind of mix it up. But if your system is not working now with the top five guys that you have, it really is time to
Yeah,
change. It's just really
and
confidence on the other guys, really.
I'm going to say a comment, and this is again not directed to any GM. This is just a very general statement. So nobody hunt me down at the rink. But a lot of teams over the years, what they end up doing is they figure out their GM core and maybe a couple players that they draft, and then that's it. That's their team, and then it's everyone else, right? Throw them out there when you need to. But we know championship teams rarely win like that. The teams that
Yeah,
win is when the GM's
depth.
depth, they draft in a holistic manner where every person on the team plays a role and you use them, right? You can't just have your top guys running around and then when they get shut down or they're missing a game, your team just becomes bait for other people. So take it for what it is, but yeah, it's a full 14 plus people.
And it could be that case in a class. You know what I mean? Maybe it's they got the right personnel, but I mean, maybe it's time to shake up the lines a little bit, kind of put top guys on second lines, or kind of shift a little bit, maybe spread the wealth a little bit instead of stacking it all in one line. I don't know if that's the case with the class, but
Yeah.
that
Well,
might be something that they need to look into.
Abdullah Patel is saying free Saqib. I mean, it's funny, but at the same time, maybe they need to free a lot of people because we're already halfway through the season, guys. Next tomorrow, it's going to be halfway through the season, and then the last 2 weeks, it's freeze deadline anyway. So you literally have only 2 more weeks before you can make a trade and actually do
Yeah.
something. So, all right,
So hopefully they figure it out.
yeah. All right, so the player of the week, the hopeful player of the week is none other than Mr. MP, Mohammad Shabir Patel, with, I guess, 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 points. And I got to say, I love their videos. These guys
Yeah,
are
I wish they
wonderful.
win every week.
Abdullah,
What's this? Malton's sweeping it. Like that's
I
you
love
can't be
it.
saying.
I love those
Well,
videos. I applaud
yeah,
them.
and the ironic part was like our game was really Malton. We had a couple of Malton guys, so it was kind of a personal game between
Yeah.
like a couple of guys in my locker room and most of the guys in their locker room. So it was good to see MP do that. Do whatever he did in terms of like outperform his own friends and stuff like that. Even in the video, it's kind of like
That's,
like
yeah.
like I move over. It's my turn to turn to get in. But I'm on the MP bandwagon. I think this kid's solid in terms of like what he can do,
Uh-huh.
and he really showed it in our game. And I don't know if it was a personal vengeance in terms of like some of the Malton guys that we have on our team. If it was just that time to kind of like showcase what he really had, but I'm on the bandwagon. I think
Nothing is
what he
better
did in
than
that game was really good,
nothing is better than having bragging rights, right, over your friends. Nothing beats that.
and putting it on video too.
All right. So coming up tomorrow, we got obviously 4 games. So the first game again is going to be Iman versus Ichlas. So like we talked about, Ichlas really needs a win. Iman is coming off of a shellacking here. So both teams to start the week, they need something. Habibi, what's the game plan here for you guys?
Well, I mean, I think this is our playoff game. To be honest with you, I mean, you really can't make it into the playoffs without making the playoffs. So I think with these two teams, with the Iman and Ichlas, where they sit in the playoffs, where they
Mhm.
sit in the rankings, and especially like Ikhlas, I mean, at some point they're going to erupt. I mean, you can't have a team that's going to sit there and have the same old song and story in terms of walking into a depressing locker room after every single game. I
Yeah.
think they're going to come out strong. I thought that was going to be last week or the week before that, but I think from what we've seen from Ichlas the last couple of weeks, I think they are going to come out strong because they really have no choice. I mean,
Mm,
Maju and Arif, to your point, I mean, the trade deadline is only a couple of weeks away, and if now is crunch time, it is crunch time. And if there's any team that from both teams, they feel they can win. It's really this game. I mean, I'm sure I'm confident that every guy in my locker room, you know, we know our mindset walking into this game, but
mhm.
Khalas is probably having the same mindset as well. We both need to win. It's only the top six teams that are making it, and right now, these two teams are literally on the bottom standing. So it really is a game of who wants it more, who really wants to make it into playoffs. Ikhlas, obviously, with their record the way it is, they're obviously not gonna make it easy for us.
Mhm.
But I think our mindset in terms of like our game plan, I think Iman definitely has the right pieces to do it. And of course, we do know what it feels like to win.
Yeah.
And I think Junaid and company, have the formula in terms of getting it done. But this game will be interesting because it's really a playoff game for both of them at this point.
And that's a great point you put is what you just said, which is we know how to win, how it feels like to win, and that's important. I know
Yeah.
everyone had won at some point, but in the season, it's important that you get the feeling of how it is to win, or at least not to lose with the team that you have. And I think if Ikhlas needs that, so best of luck to them. But yeah, it's going to be tough.
I honestly think right now, even just looking at their score sheet again, I think Ikhlas needs D-men. The only true D-man, like they have Tayyab on D. Not saying he's a bad D-man, whatever. He's a very offensive D. But the thing is, they have Bilal Alvi, who's again a solid D-man, and Omar Dean. That and
Well,
Amir Hanif, right?
Omar
But
Omar Omar Dean is injured.
he okay, so he's injured. So it's like I thought. So then again, you're playing with a depleted back end, and it showed last week, right? They have an overabundance of forwards. They have Yasser Habib, Rizwan Malik, and of course Haya's gonna want him. YY Ingar. They have overabundance of forwards. They need to try to figure out a package deal, get some D-man, because sorry, but the defense looked atrocious last week. It's just those passes shouldn't have gone through. They shouldn't have second, third, fourth chances on Badger. It's not a happy camp right now. So they have to make a deal happen. And Iman too. From what I hear, Iman is shopping. Um, I'm not going to say who. Don't know who exactly, but when you're on the outside looking in, you got to make a deal. You got to make something happen, and you have to come out with your game face on for this one.
Hey, I have David saying that Dawood saying that I am muted. Clearly, you can hear me because I've been talking, right? So I don't know
Correct.
if
Yeah.
anybody else on the audience can't. And if
Uh,
not, then maybe
check
Dawood.
your internet, Dawood.
Bill.
All right. Okay. Too many Wi-Fi jokes come up to mind. Okay, so before we go to the next Coddy on the Hill game day presentation, I got to say that these and I think we've already mentioned these last few games, or this week and the next one after that, it's going to be really a showcase for um, how some of the people who might be on the trading block, right? It's a showcase for them that okay, here's a guy that I want to trade or I want to move up, perform, dance for me, monkey, and get your get your points up so that we can trade you, fatten you up a little bit. So I don't know any names that come to mind that fit, and it's a controversial question. Or do you guys want to just be like silent about it?
No, I'm gonna stay quiet on this one.
The neutral commissioner. Come on, Maju. Give me a name.
I
I'm muted, but no, I don't have any specific names, but I can tell you, like right now, even Abdullah Patel wants Sakib Kolkar,
Mm.
right? So he's got to show up. He's got to stop playing softball. He's got to show up and do more than he just his eye hand coordination and win a face off.
And you literally stop playing softball, not figuratively, literally. Right?
Literally, right? There are some D men that need to step up their game. Like I'm pretty sure that people are. It becomes a little bit of a chess game, right? And I don't know if some GMs are thinking that far ahead, or if they're just kind of saying, "Hey, I like my team. I'm going to play with it, and I'm not going to move anything." But they're going to look to ride a hot goalie to trade. They're going to look to ride a hot D man that's been shutting down to trade.
Mhm.
So to be honest, other than like the goalies that are the GMs,
Yeah.
most every goalie is on the chopping block. If they can get a better deal, I don't see why you wouldn't take it and move your goalie.
Mhm.
Um, same thing when it comes to D-man. Like your first D-man pair is usually they're solid. They're not going to be moved. There's always rumblings about like Omar Asawi always every single season being traded somewhere, moving somewhere, whatnot. But your second, third D-man might because they're more integral if they're really stepping up to the plate. And someone on our team on Rida, like Umar Mahmoud, he's a great piece that you could move depending on how like things look, right? On Yakin, we're looking at someone like Doc, not Maz, but shoot, and wow, I can't even remember his name right now. But you're looking at possibly trading him just for the sake of, hey, he's going to be missing some games, and I'm going to beat myself up because
Zaki.
Zaki, thank you. My God, like he was in my team last season. I was chilling with him, talking too. But
Well,
someone like him,
yeah.
solid player. But if he's going to miss games, and some of the teams willing to take that risk, and Suber might want him because they're friends and family, whatnot.
Well, the guy that is the most traded is probably Faisal Mabu because he's a throw in on every trade, and Faisal's like a doorknob. Everybody gets a turn. So, so one thing I can say, one goalie that is not going to get traded because he's a GM is Fahad, and he's going to be facing you tomorrow, Maju, because the
There's
third game of the night is Yakin versus Rida.
yeah,
And man, we're gonna have our hands full with this team because Yakin has looked really, really sharp this whole season.
yeah. So there's two goalies that are not going to be traded. Riaz is the other GM as well. But yeah, segue into our game. Honestly, this just the way it's been panning out, and just the way Rida has been going up and down, up and down. If they don't figure out who's doing what, covering the third man in, just playing a good defensive core, defensive zone hockey, it's going to be another shellac, another blowout. It's just written in stone. Like I'm sorry, but um, if you're going to wait till the second period to get going and then own the second period,
Mm-hmm.
what's the first period then? You're not coming early. You're not getting a jog in. You're not getting warmed up. You're not controlling the game.
Yeah.
And Yakin does that from the start. And you don't you don't have an easy goalie to walk through. You have excuse me. You have Fahad Mohammed, who is known to be he's a stellar goalie. He's played in the higher level of Salam Cup, and he thrives. I even talked to him. He thrives off of a high shot game. He loves it. He wants the challenge. So good luck if you start peppering him early. Maybe you'll get one early one past him if he's sleeping. But if he gets in the zone, good luck. You're just gonna have to keep peppering him and really break him down. So yeah, Rida has their way. Just Rida, it's Yakin's game to lose right now.
So, Habibi, I want to go to you on this one. I mean, obviously,
Yep.
Maju and I are biased on this one a bit in terms of what we feel as Rida we need to do. But as an external entity, what do you feel that Rida needs to do to snap out of it?
Well, I mean, Yakin is such a well constructed team. They're very well rounded. I mean,
Yeah.
looking at their GMs, they got Maz, they got Panchati, and they got Fahad. So right off the bat, you got a forward, you got two forwards and a cellar goaltender. Their top pick is Wakar. We all know what Wakar brings to the table. Solid forward, and just going back to your point, Maji, about like goalies that strive, and you hear this in every pregame khutbah in every locker room. You got to shoot on that, shoot on that, shoot on that. They got to do the same thing. You know what I mean? Like in terms of getting through you, in terms of like getting through RF. But in terms of like Rada, what they need to do is, every GM, and this is why they're GMs. Every GM is they really think about the game before the game starts, and every team has a weakness.
Mhm.
So Yakin, as good as they are, they do have a weakness. You just got to figure out what that weakness is.
What is it?
Maybe it's
Tell us.
well, I mean, that's not for me to say.
Oh, come
But I
on.
mean,
we,
I
we
mean,
we don't
you
bring we don't bring you on here just to be politically correct. Throw
Well, I
some
mean,
throw some fire.
so I probably might. I mean, to be honest with you, like, with it's pretty much the same tale of, with the other teams that we talked about too. Like in
Mhm.
terms of like, just capitalizing on their second and third line. You know what I
Right.
mean? Just I don't think they have that strength that you guys have in terms of like, that third line. It might be a little bit, it might be decided on that second and third line. I think the two
Mhm.
top lines are pretty much well even. So if you guys can just really have that
And
confidence
how
on
about
your
that?
second and third line, that second and third, that like we said, the secondary scoring and the third line scoring. I think that is what you guys need to do,
Mhm.
because I don't think that um, their third line, or matches with your third line. So I think if anything, it's really to capitalize on that moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's just my
That's
personal
fair.
opinion.
That's a fair comment, and I think for us on Rida's side, we were actually talking about this in locker where we looked at pretty much every goal we got scored against since the beginning of the season. Majority of them, majority of them have been because of sloppy play on our part. We've given up the ball. We've just been slow to the ball, and yeah, we have to play better. So that especially against a team.
Well, you guys have the pieces too, right? But again, the comment that we talked about earlier is, I think maybe within your camp, you might want to rely on your other players too.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like in terms of like your top
Yeah,
line scoring, you might want to mix that up a little bit because it's not working. You know what I mean?
for sure,
So
for sure.
maybe it's some time, time to shuffle rid of those lines a little bit. Um, because it's not working. You know what I mean? And the thing is, Rilla does have, like, I mean, Lara, if I'm looking at you, like they got guys like you that they should be kind of utilizing you as much as possible, because if you're not on the top line, that's fine. But again, when you're on that second line, having RF Khan on the second line is, against teams, I think that's pretty scary. So imagine if you kind of line change, or kind of skip, kind of fix those lines up a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that's what you
Point.
guys need to do. I think you guys need to mix your lines a little bit.
No, appreciate that. Appreciate that. All right, Maju. Let's move on to the next one here. I'll give you the baton here. So the last game is Takwa versus Haya. Obviously, Takwa just dominating the last game, and Haya did the same. Right, both of these teams got what six goals, I think, or 5 or 6
Yeah,
goals.
yeah.
So
Four
are we
and
going to
six.
see more fireworks in this last game? What's your anticipation here?
Sorry, actually, I just got to say one thing. Did I black out when we were talking about the second game? Because I don't even remember that.
No.
um, no, but anyways, but yeah, this. So we know Takwa for game in, game out, when they actually had all their players,
Hmm.
not week one where they were all in. And actually, Dawood is asking the
They
same
still
question. Did
tied
we
it.
miss? Yeah, they still tied it. So they were missing their players on week one, but they still tied. And other than that, Takwa's been on a roll. Haya now has been. We're struggling to get up to speed, but now they are full speed. They're still missing Luke because I think Luke is in. He's still away for, I think it was a total of 2 to 3 weeks. But we'll see what happens. I think Takwa is gonna, again, just all gears. I will say my comment again that I said last week. Are all of their younger players going to show up? 11 o'clock is past some people's bedtime, whether they're older or younger. 11
These
o'clock
kids
game
are
is
waking up
past.
at 11 o'clock.
But I have right now. Yes, Haya played amazing. I have to give the edge to Takwa. Right, they have a stellar goalie. They have a lot of just a lot of cohesiveness, chemistry, and I think they're going to be firing on all cylinders. Again, is Huzzy going to show up? That also depends on his curfew, and if they're missing him, that's another big powerhouse that they're going to be missing. But
Yeah.
I have to give the edge to Takwa. They've just been consistently blowing out teams, or at least putting the pressure on teams. And Mr. Khalid Mufti can last. He can fight that pressure quite
Mhm.
well.
Mhm.
But there's going to be a breaking point, and I think Haya just doesn't have it yet. They haven't shown it, at least.
I think Habibi, you just want Takwa to win so that you can get another Player of the Week
Well,
from
I,
their video.
I am on the MP Medwagon. I'm not going to lie. I think the kid plays great, but
Yeah,
I'm not going to underestimate Haya too. Like,
yeah,
Haya's just one of those teams that we can never count out. And to be honest with you, and I firmly believe this, with the resurgence of Hamza, they're going to have their hands full too.
yeah.
So I wouldn't really discount Haya out. We all, we keep talking about this all the time, like in terms of like the type of team that Haya has constructed, and they're not want to, to back down. And after coming off that high, they're both coming off highs, like in terms of like you know last week and stuff like that. But I wouldn't think I don't think this is going to be like a sure win.
Hmm.
To be honest with you, because Hamza Ali is not. He's really shown the Hamza of the old that we're kind of used to. So I actually think this will be kind of close, to be honest with you. Um, but I'm not sold on the absolute victory of Taqwa.
Yeah.
Taqwa, if they do win, it'll probably be like like a by one goal or something like
Yeah.
that.
It seems like the Haya hustle was back last week because they were definitely hustling a lot. So if that is back, then yeah, Takwa will have their hands full. So I think Maju, you might be right. We might have missed or skipped the second one. I know DC here. He wants to hear about his own team. So let's just go back and make sure we've covered it. So even if we did, let's do it again. Oh, Dawood is here. Yes, game two was skipped after mentioning the
Yeah, I
sponsor.
don't think we
Yeah,
talked about game two.
we actually got into
And
the sponsor
and
and
to be
talked about
honest with
trades.
you, and this is actually the game to talk about, because these are
Yeah.
two. This is probably the game of the week right there. I mean, we got two of the top teams in the league right now. And to be honest with you, we keep talking about the structure of what Hassan brings in terms of the defense that they have and the secondary scoring that they're getting. But Suburb is what they've shown in terms of like you know their offensive powers as well. And I think Asawi is back as well.
Hmm.
They're not a team to slouch or sleep on. But if there's any test of what we've seen from Hassan so far, this is the team that will test them for sure.
So again, going back to game two, but Sabr and Isan this is a fight for first. This is
Yeah,
Isan
for sure.
currently holds first, and they're both tied at the same points, 7 points each. Isan has a tiebreaker because of the one extra goal that they've scored versus compared to Sabr. Uh, but it's definitely going to be a game to watch. I think it's going to be another nail biter. It's going to be very close. We have just again phenomenal goaltending facing off against each other,
Yeah.
and it really is going to come down to a for Isan is who's going to come up scoring, who's and like we've already said it many times that these DC and the GMs like to get other players involved, so they have multitude of secondary and tertiary scoring.
Yeah.
Yes, I said a big word, tertiary. Um, but that being said, on the other side is how are you going to stop Omar Hussein? Are you going to stop him? And what are you going to make it? You have to make it difficult to not only stop him, but from him making a pass to feeding Zaid Khaler or feeding Kazi or feeding like Imran Shah. Like he can pull players to him and then dish it off for other players to score. And they've proven this time and time again. It's not it's not going to be where one team steams over the other team. It's going to be a really close game, and I agree with you, Habibi. This is the game of the night. This is what you got to show up for, to watch, to scout, to know what your competition is, because you know both of it's Sabr. So far, Sabr, Isan, and Yakin, which look like they're really gearing up to make a really good push to the finals.
But going back to what you're saying about
Yeah,
finding an
Dawood.
answer for Omar Hussein, I think if there's any team, go ahead, or
Sorry, no, I was just going to
like
say
if there's
Dawood is
any
saying
team that
that
can.
the way to the way to take out Omar Hussein is to take out his shins because he doesn't wear pads. So I mean, we don't condone hurting our brothers, but since you are putting out the skinny on other players, should also remind you that somebody a couple of seasons ago was lying on the ground, rolling around because they got hit in the unmentionable. So if you're gonna tell what other
And
people,
I do remember the whole hangar, including the guys at the soccer field and the guys doing kabaddi volleyball. They
yeah,
were
so if you're gonna take out Omar Hussein shins, then I would invite people to take out Dawood. No, no.
But I
Sorry,
mean,
Habib,
just going back to what you're saying, I mean, like when you have like a team that's stifling defense, I mean, that's your answer right there, Maju. Like if there's any test, to shut down Omar Hussein, this is the team that can do it. They have the personnel to be able to shut down Omar Hussein, and of course, they have Hamza in net too. So they got the right contingency of players to shut down a team like Hussein et al. In terms of like what they bring. But I think if there's any team that has the answer for Omar Hussein, it will probably be this one.
Now, sorry. That being said, I did forget Hamza's missed a couple of games because again he was in Umrah as well. So is that going to cause him to be a little bit shaky out of the get go? Whereas Riaz has proven himself. He's consistently just phenomenal. Holding was it in 4 games he's allowed 5 goals. So he's going to be a tough cookie to crack.
I'm just looking at
Yeah,
the stat on the side here. I know we always keep saying Asan is very defensive, and they are. Looking at the stats though, Takwa, Asan, and Sabr, they all three of them have the lowest goals against,
Hmm.
5 goals in 4 games. Right, so they are actually all pretty similar when it comes to their team defense. I want to call it. Now the question is who has the best team offense, and even there, Sabr Ihsan actually has the most out of those three teams. They have 12 goals for.
and they're scoring by committee.
They're scoring by committee, so you can't just shut down one line and make
Now,
the most.
again, just to be the devil's advocate here, um, Isan also has had a rotating door or whatever of goalies. So they're
Mhm.
really unfortunate. Hamza hasn't been put to a true test of this season's caliber. He has played in
Mhm.
other leagues and stuff, so he's aware of the skill that's out there. But and he's played in a higher tier, like I think the winter season. So he's had experience to it. But when you're coming back from 2 weeks away and all that, are you going to get into the zone right away? Are you going to feel it right away, or are you going to be half a second, slow?
Yeah. All right, gents. I think Daoud, there you go. So we've covered your last game. So thank you for bringing that up. Sometimes we get so caught up in the chat, we sometimes forget where we are. So apologies for that. But I'm glad we were able to catch it because it would have been a shame to miss commentary on that. Because yeah, I agree with you guys. This is going to be the marquee game, and it's
Absolutely.
the middle game. Therefore, you're going to have a lot of people here. So great time to showcase people that you need to trade. Just saying.
Bum bum bum.
All right, gentlemen. With that, I'm going to leave it at that, guys. Any last words, Habibi? Since you're the commish, I'll give you the
No,
last.
it's the middle of the season, so I mean it'll be interesting to see what the JMs do after tomorrow night for sure.
Good, good. Maju, anything else from you?
No, I just say, Habibi, keep us posted. Let Arif and me in on all the trade rumors that are happening, so we can stir some fire.
Yeah, I don't hear about it until the last minute, but I just hope it's a quiet one. But with the way things are looking, I have no clue. We'll find out tomorrow, inshallah.
All right, boys. That's it. All right. Assalamu alaikum. See you tomorrow.
Awesome.
Wa alaikum salam, guys. Take care.